With the 2021 NBA season coming up very soon, I decided now is as good of a time as any to start discussing every single team before the season starts. I decided the most smart way to do that was to go in my own order of the worst to the best teams in the NBA, kind of like predicting how good they will be next season. Right now I'm at the number 15 spot, meaning I'm exactly in the middle. At the number 15 spot I have the Toronto Raptors, meaning I think the Toronto Raptors will be the 15th best team in the NBA this upcoming season. So basically in today's video, I'll just be discussing the Toronto Raptors, how good I think they will do this season, as well as just discussing their individual players, things like that. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro. But quickly before we get into the video, I gotta show you this really quickly. This is the new diversion water bottle. It's basically a water bottle where you can put stuff like your keys, wallet, and other kind of small items like in your water bottle that will make you lose it way less. And it will also just help you to not have your pockets full and things like that. Click the link in my bio if you're interested, and into the video. To start the video off, I want to talk about the Toronto Raptors on the offensive side of the floor. And to be honest, I think this is a Raptor squad that could be pretty good on offense. I don't think they'll be like elite on offense, but I also don't think they're going to be one of the worst offenses. This is mainly due to the fact that they have multiple guys who I could see averaging over 10 points per game on this team. In my opinion, the only problem with them is they don't have that true star player. They'll probably be led by Pascal Siakam, who is no doubt a great player, but at this point I would argue he's not even a top 30 player in the NBA, and I'm a Raptors fan, so I'm not just hating on him. He's not really consistent on offense, and a lot of times defenses are able to stop him, especially in the postseason like we saw in the bubble. I don't want to just talk negatively about him because it seems like everyone else does that, especially after how we played in the postseason in the bubble. Some people think Pascal fell off, but last season he was only a little bit worse than he was in the 2020 season. He was still playing at an all-star level, averaging 20 points and 7 rebounds, shooting good efficiency. I truly think this is the year where Pascal will remind people how good he can be and just how good he is. I think he'll show to be a formidable number one option, averaging close to 25 points per game. Next, I want to talk about Fred VanVleet, who was a guy who kind of flew under the radar because several people didn't realize he was a guy who averaged over 20 points per game last season. I'm not going to lie, he didn't do it on good efficiency, but I think a lot of that was due to the fact that the Raptors had a lot of injuries, and a lot of times Fred was asked to make difficult shots that I truly don't think he's good enough to consistently make, hence his terrible efficiency. But I think this season, with way more help and hopefully more health, I could expect him to average somewhere around 16 to 18 points, hopefully on just average efficiency, because shooting below 40% from the field or just the low 40s in general is not ideal. A lot of Raptor fans have started to dislike Fred VanVleet. I am not one of them. I still think he's a very valuable player to our team, and I think he's going to have a really good season, and he's going to replace Lowry as good as anyone else can. Next up, I want to talk about the guy who the Raptors selected with the 4th overall pick this year in Scottie Barnes. And if we're being honest, I think Barnes will have a limited role this season just because we're a roster filled with a lot of talent, especially at his position. But I think in his rookie year, he will get decent amount of minutes and he'll show the potential that he has to be like one of the best defenders in the whole basketball association. I would hope he could show the ability to space the floor at a decent level where defenders aren't just leaving him wide open, and just to have some dribbling skills, things like that. I don't really think he's going to be in contention for the rookie of the year because the Raptors are actually a team that's trying to win, meaning he's not going to get the ball as much as the other players, and he just doesn't seem like a player who's going to put up crazy amount of big numbers, even when he's at his best. I feel like he's going to be a guy who gets underrated because he makes a huge impact, but it doesn't show in the box score. But nonetheless, I think he's going to be a player who has a pretty good impact on our team, and I expect him to have a really good rookie year. Next, I want to talk about OG Anunoby, and to be honest, I'm really expecting a big jump out of Anunoby. I think he's going to become the Raptors' second best player. He was underratedly, seems like this whole team's underrated, but underratedly, Anunoby was a guy who averaged 16 points last season on pretty good efficiency, as he nearly shot 40% from 3, and I think he shot like 48% from the field. And underratedly, I think he can average 20 points next season. He just has to be more aggressive and consistent. I would hope his ball handling ability improved even more, because if he does that, he definitely can be a 20-point scorer, period. He might not be like the typical 20-point scorer who like gets it off ISOs, but just in the flow of the offense in transition, hitting open threes, I definitely think he could be a guy who averages 20 points on really good efficiency, being like nearly the ultimate role player. But like, he's obviously better than a role player, but you know what I mean. Next, I want to talk about Gary Trent Jr., who the Raptors traded for Norman Powell. And honestly, I think Gary will really do good, because in the limited time he played with the Raptors, he averaged 16 points. Not on great efficiency, but I think with a full year on this team, he's going to blossom and show that he truly has star potential. He showed it last year when he scored over 40 points against the Cavs. I honestly could see him averaging close to 20 points, but if I had to be realistic, I think he'll average somewhere around 15 to 17 points. And I think he'll show that he's one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA. I think everyone likes Gary Trent, and we're excited to see what he's going to do in the future. Next, I want to talk about Precious Achiuwa, who they got in the Kyle Lowry trade. To be honest, I think he's going to be fantastic for this team as our starting center. He's a really hard-working player who battles for boards. He's also excellent on the defensive side of the floor, as he can guard the perimeter and guard the pick and roll better than most centers in the NBA. I think he's going to be really big for our defense as a shot blocker. I'm really excited to see what he does in a much bigger role. He can also space the floor at a decent level, so if he could do that, that would just make this team so much better. Next, I want to talk about Malachi Flynn, who is also a guy I'm expecting to kind of break out this season. When Malachi got a lot of minutes last year, he really showed he could be a really good player. He just wasn't given the opportunity. But I think this year he's going to for sure get most of the backup point guard minutes, or at least be like a backup guard. And I think with all that play time, we'll see how good he could really be. I definitely think Malcolm can be a good starter in the NBA. Probably not this season, but maybe in the next 2 or 3 years. To quickly talk about the other players, they got Chris Boucher, who was one of the best bench players in the league last season. I think he'll continue to do that. He can space the floor and defend. They also have Goran Dragic, who a lot of Raptor fans don't like, but I actually think Dragic is very solid, and I think he could be one of the best backup point guards in the league, if not the best. Also want to talk about Kim Birch. I think he'll be a really good backup center. Also, Yuta Watanabe gave us a lot of good minutes last season. I don't know how much he'll play. Also, Freddie Gillespie is a solid backup center. This Raptor team is just filled with a bunch of talent and players who could play a role. I truly think this team is going to be good on the offensive side of the floor. The only problem I have with this team is they don't have an elite shot creator. They don't have like that Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal. I'm not even bringing up superstars. Like, they don't have that Steph Curry, that type of player who could just create his own shot easily every possession. And I feel like that can maybe hold them back on offense. But nonetheless, when you have this much guys who can put the ball in the basket, space the floor, finish at the rim, handle the ball, I definitely think they'll rank somewhere around the 8th offense to, at worst, like the 15th offense. To talk about the Raptors on the defensive side of the floor, I think everyone and their mom knows that this team will be absolutely amazing on the defensive side of the floor. Maybe they'll struggle on offense at times without that one go-to guy on offense. When it comes to defending, they'll be one of the best in the NBA. This is due to the fact that they just have so much athletic, good defenders who are lanky on their team. They're also coached by Nick Nurse, who is one of the better coaches in the NBA, and I have full confidence he will make a great defensive scheme. They have defenders like Pascal Siakam, who's a great defender without even trying. He's 6'9", very athletic, can guard nearly all positions on the court. Precious Achiuwa is a great defensive big man who can switch pick and rolls, defend point guards better than most centers. They have OG Anunoby, who I think is a guy who's a top 5 perimeter defender in the league, and I think he's going to improve even more this season. Fred VanVleet, who is an undersized guard, but he gets the job done on defense with his effort, his ability to do the little things in the passing lane. They also have Scottie Barnes, who is projected to be the best defender in his draft class. Scottie is a 6'9" guy with crazy wingspan, crazy athleticism, great instincts. I think at worst he'll be an above average defender coming straight into the NBA. But if I had to guess, I think he'll start off by being just a good one, then soon he'll turn into elite one in the future seasons. They also have Chris Boucher, who was top 10 in the NBA in blocks last season. And then even if we want to talk about those guys who are not viewed as great defenders, those guys aren't even that terrible on defense, as Goran Dragic is probably the worst defender who will be getting significant play time, and he's just probably a little bit below average on defense. Gary Trent, in my opinion, is an average to above average defender when it comes to defending the ball. Honestly, I just think this is a team that can be top 5 on defense if they're healthy most of the season. The whole unit is just very solid on defense, and if the Raptors are very successful, I think the biggest reason for their success has to be their defense. To now answer the question of why the Raptors are ranked 50th on my list, it's mainly because after seeing Pascal struggle in the postseason, I just don't know how much I can rely on them to be amazing on offense. I think he'll do good enough in the regular season, but my biggest problem is their lack of a real superstar. They have incredible depth and things like that, but they have no go-to guy. If a guy like Bradley Beal joined their team, I honestly think we would be title contenders, but Bradley Beal's not here, and when I look at this roster, I think they'll probably be a 4th seed at best in the Eastern Conference, and maybe even if injuries happen, they could go higher. But if everyone's healthy, I think 4th seed at best and 8th seed at worst. I just hope the Raptors can stay healthy, and I hope they don't go through the crazy COVID protocols like they did last year, or else this team can be really, really good. I'm a Raptor fan, by the way. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think the Raptors are going to be really good next season. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to reach my goal of 1,500 subscribers, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments. And I'm out.